Hello, my name is Brandon Bryce. Welcome to the Veggie Gardener. Today we're going to talk about planting methods. The purpose of our showing you this is so that when I start using when we start planting and I start using terminology, you know what I'm talking about. The planting methods we are going to cover today are broadcast seeding, direct sowing, and transplanting. If you find this information informative, please like, share, and subscribe. Mostly share. I am trying to reach as many people as I possibly can, as fast as I can. Okay, so let's talk about planting methods. The key to success is soil to seed contact. So it might be interesting, but when you plant seeds, it doesn't always connect with the soil, and that causes poor germination. Germination is just a terminology word for, the seed actually starts growing. The planting depth is we want it to be 2 times. We want the planting depth to be 2 times the width of the seed. So here's a pea seed. It is probably about 1/4 inch wide. We want to be planting it times 2. So 1/4 times 2 is 1/2. We want to be planting it about 1/2 inch deep. And that goes with all seeds, even the small seeds. When we have small seeds, let me get these. Oh, wrong packet. I'll throw those in there. So these are Arugula. They're quite tiny. And for them, we can really just kind of rake them into the top, and that should be deep enough. We always want to water after we plant so that the seeds actually germinate. And let's get into some seeding methods, planting methods. So first let's talk about broadcast. I'm going to split this tray up into 2. Now this square is about 1 foot by 1 foot, 1 foot squared. And we're going to talk about broadcasting. Broadcast seeding is used for these tiny type seeds, these small little guys. This will include pretty much your lettuce, arugula, what else? I know there's stuff out there, but it's your small seeds. You'll find out when you open them, and this is about the size, just for some reference. Uh-oh, should have done this first, huh? All right, we're just gonna throw those guys in there. I'm guessing there's no real science to this. I will show you a more accurate method, but this method works just fine. And I'm going to show you a little bit here. Okay, not a whole lot, because I got several methods I want to cover. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some soil, going to throw it in there with my seeds. Going to cover it. I'm going to shake it so that it's all mixed up. This just helps the spacing be a little bit more consistent. If I didn't do this, it would be totally fine. The spacing just might be a little bit more spotty. That's all. Nothing big. All right, so once you get this mixed, doing this method, mixing it with soil, is better if you have sandy soil, but it works really whatever you have. It doesn't matter. It's not like you're gonna ruin your plants. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take some out and we're gonna pinch it on, kind of like it's not like you're seasoning something, you're seasoning chicken. And then we're gonna kind of just, press them in with our fingers a little bit, get the rest of this out. And then wow, again. Okay, I'm going to say it again, seed to soil contact. So we're going to actually press it down a little bit. All right. So this is kind of a very blocky method. It's not any rows. It's not anything like that. They're just going to come up all weird blocky. And this works for these small seeds. We can expand this. We can do a foot wide row going down like 4 feet or something. When we do this, we're going to have to come back and thin them, and I will show you that. This is just planting methods. This isn't necessarily the maintaining or what we do afterwards. So this is going to be very dense as they come up. So yes, we will have to thin this out. All right. Oh, before I keep going, the reason why we're inside and not outside is because it snowed. So this would not work with a snow-covered raised bed. Okay, so our next broadcast seeding technique, we can call it, is really we're going to do the same thing, except for we're going to actually measure them. So that was all guessing. Guessing is totally fine. You're just going to probably have to thin a little bit more, but it's perfectly okay. All right, let's see how I got my notes. I'll put up a little chart with all these veggies and how our seeding rates. So for this one, we want 2 to 3 teaspoons. This is arugula, by the way. We want 2 to 3 teaspoons for every 2 foot squared. Okay, well, this is like half of 2 foot squared because this tray is 2 foot long, 1 foot wide. So if we divide that by, what, 4, 2 to 3, we'll just divide 2 by 4. That's easier. That's half a teaspoon. Well, let's just do half a teaspoon. But really, I'm only going to be seeding here. If I did half a teaspoon, I should probably seed this entire half, just so we're all clear. Hopefully that's clear. So about half a teaspoon. And it's the same thing. We're just going to throw it in there. Going to grab some soil. Going to cover it. Shake it up a bit. Mix it with my finger. Same thing. Just gonna season or spread it as if we're seasoning something. And then press it down. Seed to soil contact. I'm gonna repeat it. All right. Our last kind of broadcast seeding technique is going to be where we actually just make a trench with our finger. Make a trench somehow. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're gonna grab our seeds. I'm just gonna use my hand. And then this one, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pinch it and we're gonna kind of salt it in our trench. And again, spacing, I mean, well, you might kind of think of spacing a little bit. It's not important. Not right now. We're going to come back and thin. That's a maintenance technique, and we have not talked about that. We will be coming back and thinning. I mean, not these guys, but when we actually start planting, we will. And that is broadcast seeding. Now, this trench idea is probably more along the lines of what's called direct sowing. And so that's what we're going to get into next. So direct sowing, really, let's just keep this trench going just so that, you know, because really that's probably technically called direct sowing, not broadcast seeding. Broadcast seeding is like when you're just throwing seeds out there. So this trench idea is more along the lines of direct sowing. So we're just going to keep going. Let me repeat myself 5 times. It's okay. All right, and then we're going to cover it. Seed to soil contact, so we're going to press it down. Cool. All right. Let's do a trench again, but this time, instead of using tiny seeds, we'll use some of these pea seeds, a little bigger, and we're just gonna kind of drop them on in here. So peas really should be spaced out maybe about 4 to 6 inches if we trellis them. So let's do about 4 inches. And here's another thing. So I did 1 pea for about 4 inches. Your germination is a percentage. So if you want to be absolutely sure that a pea will grow there, put 2 pea seeds in. And then we'll just pull one out, and that's okay. A little bit of waste is fine. Especially if we start our composts, which I want to, talk about compost is one of the first things I want to talk about after we get through this seeding, this planting month, April. All right, and so that's a technique of direct sowing. Our last technique of direct sowing, we'll take some peas again, and instead of doing a trench, we will just do holes. Nothing crazy. And you can put 2 peas in. Sometimes if I really, really want to make sure it's going to happen, we put 3 peas in. And it depends on how many pea seeds you have, of course. So I just want to tell you about transplants so that you're aware of them. So we have these little plugs, they're grown. I'll show you my little setup in a sec. But we take these plugs, we make a hole in the ground, and typically I just use 2 fingers. You go into the hole, you press a little bit to the side, just enough for a plug to go into the hole, about like 2 digits of a finger length, and then you put your plug into the hole. You want the top of the soil of the plug to be about the same level. You want it to be about level with the soil of your ground. And then you water it and you wait, and this guy starts rooting. The reason why we do those is because it does help us extend our season a little bit, and that's transplanting. So yeah. This is my grow setup, just a little bit. So we're starting some stuff. Finally, hey! All right, guys, see ya. Oh, wait, before I forget, so I know this is already a long video, but the next video is really just going to be a closing of our garden essentials because we've pretty much covered everything. The only things that we still need to cover are maintaining our garden and harvesting our garden. However, that's going to take some time. So really we're kind of just wrapping up, which is kind of cool because that means if you've watched all my videos, you can now have a garden. So yes, cool. Thank you. Have a good day.